Here is an episode where I'm discussing, basically vaguely discussing the algorithm of social media and YouTube. I didn't quite get to touch the topics that I wanted to of what I was trying to say, but really the show and any podcast in general shouldn't be your main source of information or researching things. So I don't actually have there's really nothing there other than just basically to provoke thought and introduce the idea of something, and also kind of get my thoughts out there. So here we go with this episode. Open up with this sneak peek of our latest creation, Lost to the Abyss. This snippet scene from it. Hope you enjoy. Welcome, friends and subscribers. Thank you to the new subscribers. Shout out. Slowly but surely building this into something grandiose. This episode, I'm going to be talking a little bit about the internet, as there is a lot going on in it right now. It might help to have a couple words from me. It might not. But who am I to speak on my own content? I am Mickey GemInEye. This is Vault of Doom Podcast, Season 8, Episode 2. I call this one a loose cannon. I just mentioned a second ago how I'm not going to be commenting, or who am I to comment on my own stuff. However, there's something I do have to say about it, and that it's to speak on, and that is to say, I've crafted this thing into something and sculpted it like a sculpture or a sculptor would, and that is just
I literally just throwing it out there, saying it as kind of a side note. I don't have any specific real detailed, actual substantial information to back up, verify what I'm saying, other than just as an artist that I'm referring to what my personal page, YouTube channel, what my podcast YouTube channel, and the Instagram page. Follow me here on that one, actually, the last one I just mentioned, on both for the show and me personally. Then take yourself down up off of your high horse for a second. Try to listen to what I'm saying here about loose cannon. What am I saying? Why did I call it loose cannon? Why do I want to speak in reference to the internet? Well, this is an easy question to answer. I just so happen to have recently stumbled across something that's quite very old to me. I'm going to reference this. Just, of course, indulge in the build-up. But I'm going to reference this directly as wow, good thing I said enjoy the build-up. There's some background noise there. As I was saying, the person I'm referring to that's very old to me is worth mentioning as there. If you already know him, his name's Alan Watts, and if you don't, well, you have pretty large playground and playing field to explore and discover. As there are, I have seen in the past on Facebook, entire groups dedicated to this person. He is an Englishman that moved to Sausalito, California. I don't have that much backup, I should say, to add that much detail. I'll let you do the rest. However, what I am mainly trying to get into in reference upon is the Taoist teachings. He's a teacher, Taoist teacher. In case you're already Googling Taoist teachers, Alan Watts or not, never the matter. As our late great friend Alan Watts would even say himself, in a matter of speaking, never the matter. Such an English thing to say. And the Taoist teachers are teaching Taoism. Taoism is a book called The Tao Te Ching, written by Lao Tzu. It's ancient text, ancient Chinese text, ancient Chinese secret. So feel exclusive, feel privileged to be tuning into this episode. I know that unfortunately there's actually 1 or 2 episodes on the entire podcast series as we're approaching season 9. Season 8 is where we are right now, and that whole season's all mapped out. This is really the only one that I could reference just on a quick note, looking through my notes, that's kind of an on-the-fly episode, sort of a spontaneous episode. And boy, it's just going to be a good one. So dig in to the details. If you like nerdisms, you'll always find some in my details in my videos. Lots of info to get into, so help yourself. Now, being that the last part of the show, the thing that I'm mentioning here, is that 1 or 2 episodes actually has not doing too good on the views. I wouldn't like this one to be that way. However, I have nothing much left to do but think as to, or let the thoughts I don't actually consciously think. And I'm going to leave most of this up to Alan Watts when I get into too much detail. It's going to happen a lot this episode. Just a heads up, where I might find myself expanding my consciousness maybe a little too much, or whatever terminology you prefer. Getting off track, digression. Let's just leave it at that. and then I will do just that with and for Alan. Leave it to Alan for the rest. But mainly what I'm getting at is I'm just referring to my current state of mind and saying that I've letting the thoughts come to me naturally. I have nothing much else to do after that other than kind of continue trying, persevere, remaining persistent in this current endeavor. That is none other than, you guessed it, podcasting. And as a podcaster, I certainly thoroughly enjoy doing a little bit of vocal exercise, speech therapy, just learning as I go along, playing by ear. Not necessarily, I wouldn't say that, but that's what the threads are for, that's what the discussions are for. As the episode's title, let me get into the title of the episode. The title of the episode is actually called Loose Cannon. I'm kind of referring to myself as potential. Maybe that's what I possibly am. I don't friggin' know. I don't flippin' know at all. How can I when I'm so busy with this channel and just in and of itself, and when I'm not, doing all the other stuff, doing all the other channels. And don't you forget your physical activity. Don't you forget your diet. Daily life, lifestyle, maintaining a life. Life is definitely a highway, but it's also very tedious. I wouldn't even think it's much more or less tedious than it was pre-global pandemic, but a global pandemic sure will do a number on you. Now, as I said, I'll digress, and that's what that was. So here is a back on track segue when saying maybe, potentially that's what I am. That's a loose cannon. Maybe that's potentially why there's a couple episodes actually have telling me no views, and I'm baffled. I'm dumbfounded, and so what do I do about that? Well, I don't have nothing much to say about my current strategies. A good magician never reveals secrets, as they say. And so here's this episode. I'm mentioning it, though. So must be something else that I have to say about that, you might think. First of all, I've introduced myself. I would like to just properly and officially and formally extend the invitation for you to introduce yourself. Please do that in the comments at any time you feel comfortable. No rush. After season 1, all the episodes have typically been over at least 15 minutes. So you have 20 minutes. You have plenty of time to drop your thought nuggets in there. Let them stew while you wait for a response from me to see maybe either who else will join in on the conversation, or if you can gain some insight, maybe you gain some foresight, maybe you just want to be a dick and say some punk ass shit. I don't think there's any problem with that here. No problem with that here. Not a problem. I've got to get to the actual thing that I'm trying to say about those with no views. Those videos with no views. What's up with that? What's up with being a loose cannon? First of all, I'm speaking in reference to the internet on the internet. So that right there sets a whole lot of context. And follow me here. There's a context provided for you right now. So before that, you could kind of be off in La La Land brainstorming and up in the clouds, head up in the clouds kind of thing. And now that I'm actually presenting an actual concrete context, that's just irrefutable. It's not up for debate. It's the internet. Who, other than the conspiracy theorists, of course, really has much to say about what the mechanics of the internet is. I don't have any clue why I'm trying to speak on this, other than the actual thing that inspired me to do this on-the-fly episode, and that would simply be in reference to Alan Watts. Now, this is an old, real old can of worms. I'm looking at myself in the mirror right now going, you just opened a can of worms, pal. You just opened a can of freaking worms. And those are also turns of phrase in case you want to, at this point, just like I said, go for it. Whatever you want to say in the comments, free for all, whatever, it's fair game. It's like, I would even appreciate some kind of being too literal type thing, as it might give me a laugh, and it would sound like this. But I probably not much more than that, as I'm so exhausted from making those episodes and working on my projects and trying to squeeze in some social, etc. There's lots. There's Alan Watts right there. Look at him. Older. Here's an older version of him, as in he's older in this picture. Here's Alan Watts where he's younger. Here's the younger Alan Watts. Distinguished and refined Englishman, if I dare to say so myself. And then even more distinguished and refined as he gets older. Look at that beard. Just look at that goatee. Would you just look at it? And there you have it. His inspiring lectures, as is per usual for me. It's not just something I'm saying in passing. I know there's a couple things I'm mentioning in passing here or there. It is not just in passing when it comes to Alan Watts. And so I have to get to the reference, why I'm referencing him. I'm not just bringing it up. What does this have to do with the internet? What does this have to do with being a loose cannon? Well, first of all, his teachings are ancient Chinese. His teachings are also referencing Japanese. Now, hear me out. These are extremely simple and in opposition to Confucianism. I don't want to work your Google search engine too hard here, so I'll leave that at that. You literally won't have to be Googling anything else after that part, after this segment of the show. And with that, I'm actually going to jump into a music break just in case you want to get that out of your system before we finish. Here we are, back to the show. What you just heard was probably just a special. Not as special, I would say. I've pretty much got everything on autopilot for a little while now. So what you just heard right now was a track that's actually it's the exclusive version of the track that's actually premiered on Darkest Pitch Black, my first the original project that's kicked off all these ones. So it's a remastered version. It's got some added instruments. Hope you enjoyed it. I've got to actually add in a couple, things to close off that project, because that project, even though that project's done, a quick spiel on the project, of course. Even though that project's done, I've already announced the sequel to the premiere EP, and that is due to the fact that it's only because it's really simple. Anyway, spiel done. Back to the main premise of the show, main premise of the episode. It's simple, Taoism. It's simple, Alan Watts' teachings. And so is most likely the algorithms that these internet platforms, and specifically the internet platforms that control people's content and will put it up there. Because I'm feeling hella constricted. My style's cramped. My style is cramping. Real hard, hella hard with this Debbie Downer news on views, having no views, etc. Specifically, I'm gonna get into the episodes that don't have any views. It got me thinking. It's got me thinking when I see this stuff, when I get this news on my content podcast that I'm putting out, and I say, wow, that's really simple. Whatever it is all the details, whatever's all that chunky, polluted, kind of cloudy stuff hazing up my brain, it's extremely simple, these algorithms and how they work and all that. And that's the reference to which I can speak on, and I feel comfortable speaking on. There's a reason I'm comfortable speaking on it on that level, because I assume that the actual machine won't have any problems not censoring me from how I speak on. And in fact, that's sort of an ethos that I seem to, I don't know if I want to use identify necessarily before saying that it's one that I carry with me everywhere. It's the ethos I carry with me everywhere. It's the ethos I identify with that, it is probably a conversation for a whole nother episode. That's why I keep putting all these out. I'm not using AI, and I'm explicitly stating that in the description, in order to generate the content that I'm making. I'm using AI in accompaniment with, I'm actually just using it in accompaniment with certain facets. I hope that should be a nice layer onto letting your search engine cool down from searching Taoism, Confucianism, and Alan Watts. That is a bit of a side note that I kind of want to reemphasize a little bit and just leave it at that. I'm gonna leave it's like the offer's on the table, take it or leave it, accept it into your, subscribe to my channel first. Please make sure you subscribe to the channel first. And then kind of ask yourself whether you want to subscribe to any of these ideas or not. Obviously, jump in the comments. Let me know how you feel about this stuff, what you think about this stuff, and what's your experience level on this stuff. Next up on this second segment here that I've had to pause a couple times now, I'm just going to try to cut out as much of the background noise as possible here. So the ability for the algorithm to do things in such a simple way immediately allows me to reference it to Taoism. I have it integrated into and ingrained into my actual mentality, so that it's not even an ethos. The ethos mentioned in all that is what I can share with you. I can actually share the ethos with you. Alan Watts has actually written published books. I've written unpublished books. So either way it goes, pick one or the other, which one you want to converse with. Swirl ideas around with people where the time is closing in, where, pretty soon, who's really, like, honestly, who's to say, who's to really know, who's going to be able to tell where this thing is taking us right now. That's the current agenda, if you will, as to how the whole world is referencing this current transition. Follow me here, because I'm done getting a little bit wacky, as that seemed maybe a bit out there, and so I'm going to start having to come down, fly down, and take a landing off of all that. In the event that there's the thing that I'm saying about the simplicity about these AI algorithms is resonating with you, please do let me know in the comments. Do let me know through other forms of contact. You could even DM me on Insta. I'd say one thing's for sure, two things for certain. You could even trash talk me, and you won't have to worry about any of the immaturity that typically comes with trash talking, like screenshotting your message and our messages, and then sharing it, and then putting on more stuff on there. That's shit posting. Might not be good for a veteran like myself. Might not be good for newcomers, beginners either. But you have a little bit more leeway. For me, it's just not tolerable. It's just completely, entirely unacceptable. I would look at myself in the mirror and say that, but I'm a little bit more jazzed up than usual when I happen to look at my fine, handsome face in the mirror and say, "What's up?" Anyhow, just a bit of that that I want to kind of spice up your evening, morning, afternoon, whatever it may be. Maybe it's the middle of the night and you need something to spice you up a little bit and get your brain working, get those gears shifting. That's kind of what I'd aim to do on this episode, and say to hell to the bollocks with that, getting too deep into the loose cannon title of the episode. I'm not going to say, "Oh, am I a loose cannon?" and all that stuff. I can't go far at all with it. I just can't go far at all with it. I can't go anywhere with it. Say that there's, like, I know that I'm confident enough in myself, but you get the point. You get the gist of what I'm saying. Trials and tribulations, maybe. I don't know. There's a few things I could throw out there that I could just throw out there. But what I can say, one thing, I said one thing for sure, two things for certain. The second thing that is for certain is it's not only something to think about, it's something to directly reference to what I'm seeing on here. What I'm seeing on here is literally just an extremely simple form of things. So I'm at a total loss, being that I have this mentality integrated into my mentality, into my own mentality. I'm at a total loss there because I don't have much that I can do other than offer an actual ethos per se, which maybe this would be the initiation of that. Maybe after that, not only would I continue doing so, as I already have been doing that, I can continue to do so under the context provided. Only one context, one teacher and one teaching, and something to nibble on and chew later on, folks. Remember, the world is doomed. It's Mickey GemInEye and the Vault of Doom podcast. I'm signing out here, episode 2, season 8. I'll see you.